Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I first and foremost want to say that if anyone is watching this and is affected by what is going on in LA right now, I hope you're all doing very well and safe as much as you can be. If you need anything, please comment down below, and as a community we can try our best to sort something out. I don't know what that looks like, but again, it's a very hard time for a lot of people living in LA. So if anyone is watching right now and is affected, please comment down below or contact me on social media, and I will try my best to kind of highlight anything you need us to during this time. And just sending a lot of love to everyone out there. I was in LA, I was in evacuation zone, and I have came to New York, so we're back in New York right now. But I just hope everyone is doing well, and I wanted to say that at the start of the video. But hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. We're going to be doing something that has been so requested, and it is Casey Neistat going on the Jeff Wittek podcast. Now, I'm like, okay, Jeff Wittek, like, this is a good guest. Like, you know, Jeff FM has been going on for a while now, and when you do a podcast for a while, it's very hard to get kind of guests that, like, your audience will keep being excited by. And I'm like, Jeff Wittek is so smart for this one because the Casey Neistat is so topical. And also, I don't know if he planned it with David Dobrik's comeback, because David Dobrik is now back on YouTube, and we'll talk about that in another video, don't you worry. But I just think that this was such a great move from Jeff, and I'm really intrigued to see how the podcast is going to go with him confronting Casey, or maybe not confronting Casey, or maybe Casey apologizing to him, maybe not. If you know the lore, I haven't said lore in a while. If you know the lore, it was that Casey Neistat worked on a documentary about David Dobrik, where it was originally supposed to be him following David Dobrik around and just kind of showing what it's like to be on the rise of one of the biggest YouTube creators of all time, specifically at that time. And then a lot of the allegations started coming out against the Vlog Squad and kind of David's connections and ties to things. And Casey Neistat obviously was covering that because he was following David, and he created the documentary, he finished the documentary, and he premiered the documentary at South by Southwest Film Festival. And a lot of people got to watch it. It got reviewed by many different publications, and the reviews were, you know, actually surprisingly very good. And a lot of people were just waiting for this documentary to come out. You know, David Dobrik, until like this week, had been off social media for a couple years, well, on his Snapchat, but not on like YouTube. And this documentary was, you know, in people's eyes, going to come out on YouTube. And Casey Neistat said a couple months ago that basically the documentary is never going to come out, and it's kind of in a way him protecting David from David himself, because David apparently didn't handle himself well in the documentary. Well, then why is it up to you to dictate how the person you're interviewing conducts himself? Because then it's a really incredibly biased piece where you're trying to show the reality of what's going on. And he said that he would never post it on YouTube because he can't post one of these documentaries on YouTube. Okay, Casey Neistat, so you can't post a documentary that you created on a YouTuber on YouTube. So all of the stories in your documentary are about YouTube, and you're filming a YouTuber, but the documentary won't work being posted on YouTube? No. It's very clear that he just doesn't want to ruffle any feathers behind the scenes with David Dobrik, a very powerful person in the industry, and I think it's pathetic, and I'm really intrigued to see how Jeff confronts this. Before we get into the video, we are a month away from the opening of the Chronically Online Tour. I cannot wait to meet all the muckers. We are adding our other shows for April and May. We have 5 to 10 new shows incoming, but if you're in Brooklyn, Chicago, Seattle, LA, Dallas, London, Dublin, this is our first batch of shows. I cannot wait to meet all the muckers. And oh my god, it's happening very soon. So let's get into this. Jeff FM, Jeff Wittek confronts Casey Neistat's true feelings about David. Now we're going to kind of make our way through this. I don't know if we're going to watch the entire thing, but we're going to kind of skip around and stuff like that and kind of get the overall vibe. But I'm really intrigued. And you know what, Jeff Wittek? This was such a smart guest, and also takes a lot of courage to kind of confront someone one-on-one like this. I know sometimes I'm good with confrontation, sometimes I'm not, but face-to-face confrontation is a whole other beast. All right, Jeff, let's get into it.
What about Bo Burnham, all these other guys?
So let's take that back. So when you first texted me and you were upset, I was like, because I feel like I felt like when you sent me that text, I was like, wait, I've said a version of that probably 10 different times on 10 different podcasts.
Yeah.
What is Jeff so upset about? Maybe he didn't actually watch. And then I went back and watched it, and I was like, no, totally fair. Like, I totally see where you're coming from. It's totally fair. So let me try to...
This is stemming from a podcast that Casey did, which was where he talked about the fact that he wasn't going to post the documentary, which obviously wasn't received well, and we talked about that at length on my YouTube channel. It was a very shitty thing for him to do. I was like, Just don't say anything, actually.
Reiterate for your audience because they haven't seen it, like what I feel I said, and then tell me how you heard it, because
Not what I feel I said. And how did you hear it? We're off to a great start.
like you're upset, and I totally respect that. I think it's fair, especially after I rewatched it. I was like, I can definitely see how Jeff's upset, especially like I didn't realize, but like you were going into surgery like a week after you saw that, right?
So that does make me more sensitive
sure.
to it. But
I'm
also,
sure.
he don't give a fuck about you. He don't even answer your texts. So why are you still sticking up for him?
Well, one, I'm not. I don't stick up for David at all.
That episode, you were sticking up for him.
No.
Unless it was something that you didn't want to admit, and you were trying to
No.
around like
I'm
the question of why you're not selling the piece.
I'm a wide open book, Jeff. I'm not. I don't. There's no like gaming or juking in what I say. So I like what I said, and I mean this. I think that like
I love seeing confrontation happen where I'm uninvolved. Yes, Jeff. Oh my goodness.
talk about like the flattery of David, like I'm referring to a time when he was sort of like when YouTube was David.
He was
Dobrik.
charismatic and a good editor.
Yeah, but he also like, I mean, you were on that tour with us when like we ran around and I was like doing all that filming.
Best time of my life, yeah.
And I'd never seen an audience, especially having experienced a version of that myself. I'd never seen an audience that looked to a creator the way they looked at David.
Yeah, but Conor McGregor is also the most popular fighter of all time, but he's also on trial for, or being it's a civil
fair.
suit,
Guilty.
but he's also
Oh,
being
ah!
accused of sexual assault. So
And guilty.
You know, you can look at it like, imagine you're saying right now,
Fuck
Conor
Conor
McGregor's the
McGregor.
best fighter of all time.
I'm
People
not
would look
saying that.
at
I
you
think
like,
Conor's a good fighter, though.
you know, yeah, he's a great fighter. I love
especially
him. I
at his
love him at the
peak.
press conferences. I loved him at his peak fighting. Yeah, just his personality, his persona, his
But
confidence.
I think, Jeff, it's important to draw a distinction, which is like, we can talk about, at least I feel like I can talk about David, both the person and his YouTube channel, before
Yeah.
all this shit went down. You know, because I think the hardest thing, the biggest challenge that I had with this movie is I felt a little bit misled. And I won't say that because that makes me sound like a victim. I don't see myself as a fucking victim in any capacity. But like, had I understood the totality of what had transpired, this is not with you and your accident, but what
Of
transpired.
course, I was a tiny piece. I wasn't even talking about me.
Yeah,
I was more
when the shit went down
looking at
with-
it from the
with
point of
Dom,
view from
in
Dom
the
and
darkness.
Yeah.
If I had understood the totality of that, I don't think I ever would have stuck my toe in the water.
But you did.
But I did.
And now you went further.
Okay, this is so frustrating, and this is why I'm glad Jeff is saying, well, you did. Well, yes, you did. But not only did you not walk away from it, you completed the documentary. You finished filming, you finished editing, you submitted it to a film festival, and you premiered it! Casey, why are you literally lying straight to Jeff Wittek's face? This is crazy.
I'm sure you spent a lot of time interviewing the girl, the victim.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend with her?
Well, first of all, she's not in the video.
Yeah, of
And
course.
you've seen the
I
movie.
watched
You've
it,
seen the
yeah.
movie a bunch of times. I spoke with a number of people completely off the record.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I spoke with those people is because, you know, the movie, and I'm sure most of your audience hasn't seen it, but like in the movie, what was written in the press by those journalists,
Well, it was only released on.
it was
like $600 to buy online.
Is that what it costs?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so the only way you could have seen the movie until
On
that
one
was-
day.
we did.
It's like a pay-per-view.
It was in one of the biggest film festivals in North America, South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And I think there was a way you could see it online, but it's never been able for the public to see it. There's never
Mm-hmm.
been an opportunity for the public to see it easily. But the movie itself doesn't have any firsthand reporting. The movie itself, if I had to like give you the elevator pitch for the movie, it was like the story of what happened when this article came out
Mm-hmm.
about just how dark and just how awful sort of the crimes of Dom were.
Yeah.
And then the impact that had on David's vlogs.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the article very fairly points out a lot of other really dark things that transpired in that vlog.
Yeah.
So that's what the
Shout
movie
out
came
Kat Tambarge.
about. And like when I was saying before, when I said I felt like a little bit misled, is because I feel like that story did a really accurate job of articulating all of the sort of darkness that transpired throughout the success of David's vlog. And I was really naive to a lot of it. The reason
I think one of my biggest problems with Casey Neistat is the fact that not only did he complete the documentary, but he spoke at length with the victims involved and still has this attitude of, well, I kind of in a way want to protect David from himself. Well, then you've now just picked him over the victims that you supposedly cared so much about and spent so much time with. Don't get involved in stuff like this if you're not going to do it properly.
reason why I don't accept that I was totally misled is it's my responsibility. I should have
Yeah.
dug deeper to really understand the implications of what was happening there.
Yeah.
I think the things that I fell in love with when it came to telling this story is that like David was this shooting star. And I just want to be clear so you don't interject. Like
No, I'm not.
When I'm talking about
I agree.
When I'm talking about David was like there's a big bold line here, which is like before that article came out, before like what was once hidden became like became
Yeah.
public. So I'm only talking about sort of before that. Like David was a star. You were a part of that then, and like where he was, how far he was going to take it seemed like he could have gone all the way.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to be like the next Fallon.
Yeah.
And so for me as a storyteller, like what an incredibly compelling narrative. Like here's this kid with his immigration background and this really like colorful story of how he came here and then starting from nothing, and he builds this YouTube channel and he brings all of, we both know that this is not the true story now, but this is how I saw it then. He like brings all of his friends with him and then they all succeed together, and it seemed like this really romantic story.
Yeah.
And then as I get into it, like there was the fun stuff. Like,
Did you think people were getting paid back then, like the crew?
that was like, if you remember, I don't know if you were one of my first interviews. You were early though, you were so supportive, but I knew people weren't getting paid, but from afar, it sort of seemed like people were getting paid. And I think like my favorite narrative, you know, throughout the movie was being able to like really zero in on the characters that were the supporting staff.
Yeah.
Because of how honest everybody was. Like how forthcoming people were.
I think one thing that's like really interesting is I was never a huge fan of David Dobrik, but I did watch the Vlog Squad. But I watched the Vlog Squad for people like Carly and Aaron and Jeff and at a time Todd or Scotty. You know what I mean? Like, I never watched the Vlog Squad for David, so, and I don't think a majority of people did. You could argue that you're watching for David's editing, but no one was watching for David's personality, and heck, no one was watching for that laugh. Pack this in. So, it's interesting that how little the rest of the Vlog Squad members got. You can argue they were getting more views and sponsorships and stuff, but without them, David would be nothing. Therefore, they actually weren't getting a fair rate.
Or about their characters.
I was making stuff outside of that. So I was just grateful to have a new group of friends because I just came out of a relationship. So, you know, because they just sent back a court document and they said that, you know, this is what they said legally like, this is in writing, that I had only 60,000 followers when I met them, and I should be fine.
I saw this.
I should be fine with this because they gave me some subscribers. My most popular video is where I picked up a homeless guy and gave him a makeover. This is before I even met David, years before. So, I mean, they're so messy with some stuff like that. So it's so hard not, I mean, like, I know.
Again, that's why I will always go so hard for Jeff Wittek, that they're currently in a legal battle, like what Jeff said, where it's literally being written down legally. Well, yeah, we nearly killed you, but you got some subscribers. Well, how can you be pissed because you have your career because of us? Well, baby, I nearly didn't have my life because of you. You nearly killed me.
I know everybody says to forgive, to move on in life, but how do you forgive somebody that's, one, not sorry, two, is lying and saying that it was your fault that this happened to you? You know, that alone, I know, like, I'm not trying to compare myself to the girl, but also I'm sure that he doesn't feel guilt in that either. When, you know, he's not the one who did it, but he also profited off of it. And the girl, he said in your doc that she did it for attention. And now, maybe you have to be a victim.
No harm, Casey, but this documentary should be released, and it should be released on YouTube, specifically now with the fact that David Dobrik is back on YouTube. It's only fair. The fact that we are allegedly having information of him saying that the girls were doing all this for attention and stuff like that, and you're withholding that from us, I personally see that as an issue. And honestly, muckers, let me know down below if you also see it as an issue, or maybe I'm like blowing it way out of proportion here. But if this documentary's sitting, waiting, and you're saying you can't post it on YouTube, which we know the reason for that is because you want to get paid a lot of money to promote it, or to release it, I don't know. And even this, the fact he's going on podcast tours, even with Jeff Wittek, still doubling down on why he hasn't posted it, I'm like, hello?
To see these things and really feel these things. And I guess because I am a victim, I can empathize with that girl. But that girl don't want clout. You know, you know that. You interviewed her. She wasn't looking for attention or money. She just wanted to get her story out. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, man, I think that is an important distinction, but David didn't say that she was doing it for attention. He said that the article was written to get clicks. And I think that regardless of those
But that's the same thing if the story was covering her story.
two distinctions.
It's been a while since I saw it. I remember my part more I was focused on because he was like, oh, Jeff's just crazy. He always wants to do crazy shit, which is also like, when did you ever see me doing it?
I think you're drilling in at a point, both of these, him saying that the article was written for clicks, which is basically invalidates what happened to the victim.
Yeah,
it invalidates,
which is a big no-no.
Which is, I think both as a human being, it's a very yucky position to take. And then I think sort of politically, like what I said in that interview that you took issue with, and I think it's fair for you to take issue with this. I think it's not a fair characterization, the way that I said it in that interview, is that like, I don't think that all that bad stuff that transpired was enough to end David's career if he had taken ownership of what transpired. I think that there was this is before anything happened with you, there was such a cadence, if you remember, he was doing 3 videos a week. There was such a cadence and such chaos. There's certainly an argument there that says, I didn't know what a fucking idiot Dom was.
Yeah.
And then the thing that David hid behind, which was, the victim saying.
But he did. I mean, he got the message the night before, the night after, and he had not told us, but he had known. And, there's some things that he lied to you about too, which is fair. So that's why, I want to sit here with you because I know you're an intelligent guy.
Yeah, and
I
Jeff,
know
all of these points bring home the same thing, which is my biggest issue, both as a friend, although I worked really hard, largely because of my wife's encouragement. She was right that you have to stop being a friend and just start being a journalist.
Yeah,
I think what we're dealing with here is that David Dobrik and a lot of these big creators will not address something until the last minute, until they actually have to address it, is when they will address it. So Casey being like, was that enough to end his career? Well, who knows how he would have handled it differently or whatever. Here's the thing. He didn't want to handle it. He was never going to handle it. Those beautiful noises of New York. God, I love this damn city. I love this damn city. By the way, did you know, right up here and stuff, well, not there, that's is everyone good? Are y'all good? Damn, I don't understand their roads at all. Anyways, there's so many helicopters and stuff going. I didn't realize that you can book helicopters and fly around, well, not yourself, someone will fly you around New York and get views and stuff. The problem is I'll never do that because I'm deathly afraid of helicopters, but fun in theory, right? Fun in theory. Also, can I ask one quick question? I don't understand how the New York walkway system works. You know the way the light will turn white and it will be a hand like this? Why am I able to finally walk like a green man in the UK, but cars are still able to drive into me? It'll be okay, you can walk now, buzzer, white hand, so I start walking, but then all the cars are still driving at me, and I'm like, well, whose fucking turn is it? I've been in New York for many years, but I still don't understand that. Is it rite of passage or something like that? I don't fucking know. Make up your mind.
I'm a friend, I got you a gift. I got you this present.
Uh-oh.
Look at that. Take it out.
You didn't have to do that.
Show what it is.
You didn't have to do that.
Because I don't know.
No, I know it's Christmas and everything.
I don't know if you're running out, but there you go. It's a bunch of Kool-Aid
Yeah, but
because you're still drinking it, my friend.
You didn't just
You're
stop
still
here.
in the cult. You're still blinded.
I'm going to put these both up.
One thing about Jeff Wittek, he is a diva. And you know why I think he's such a diva as well? Because this is a straight man. At his core, his biggest downfall, I'm kidding, that is a straight man. But when I met his team at his show, they're mostly gay, I think. And I'm like, yeah, so he surrounds himself right. And I love it. That's why he's such a diva. I love it.
My friend, you still have a little bit in you. And if you didn't get blasted in the head by a crane or had sex with against your will when you were drunk, you may have different feelings. It took me a long time to stop drinking that Kool-Aid. I went through...
In the sense that if you kick
through 5 surgeries, and I was still drinking that Kool-Aid. And then I got a FaceTime when I was in Tampa, Florida at the Jake Paul fight, and you showed me his reaction. And this is the end of the film where you said that it was not handled well by him, so that's why you want to kind of protect David to not put that out because of the ending he handled so badly, where he showed his true colors. That's who he is. You're doing an interview, you're not doing a vlog, a funny, goofy vlog. You're doing an interview, this is who you are. Answer the question, how you really feel. He said he took no responsibility for it. He took no accountability.
None.
He blamed me.
He didn't just blame you. I think this was the biggest issue with...
I try to goof around a little bit about the subject because I know...
I'm going to keep these here. No, and I'm trying my best to keep goofing, which is at the heart of
the reference you get it, the cult
at the heart of our friendship. And then what's serious, because there's nothing...
Those people died that drank the Kool-Aid.
I don't think there's anything goofy about it. And as much as I'll still take it, Jeff, because you have every right to be upset, I haven't had any communication with David, nor have I sought any communication with him. And when I talk about this idea of protecting him, no, I don't feel any desire.
My heart is racing at this confrontation. Anyone else? Fuck me.
To protect him. And what I said in that interview, and I'll still say this today, is that the way that that documentary transpired, like if I can give the whole thing in an abbreviated way, is I really was excited about telling the story of what it means to go from zero to being the biggest creator in the world. That was a story that I wanted to tell. And that's a story I wanted to like dedicate years of my life to telling. And David seemed like the perfect candidate.
He seemed like it, yeah.
Really
Dedicating
seemed
years of your
when I
life to
first
David
met him,
Dobrik?
and his explosion was unlike anything I'd seen. And I rode that wave. And like that tour, The Greatest Time of Your Life, was sort of the apex of that. It was like, we were going to universities, we were going to Miami, we were going to all these places. And like the way
even
people
here
were,
at 368,
that's
we
right.
felt like the Beatles.
The way
streets were
people
rumbling.
reacted to you guys was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And that was the movie that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And then this story comes out. And I'm forced to confront the reality of the situation.
All right, real quick, today's episode.
Oh my god. I was like, what's happening there? I feel like I just won jackpot. All right, everyone, go over to Jeff's video and support his sponsors. But let me tell you something, baby. They're not paying me.
But
You don't have that
you can
anymore.
imagine, Jeff, the story I'm trying to tell, which is of this YouTuber. And then all of a sudden, I'm faced with this decision to either abandon it, which I don't think I could have lived with myself, or now I'm making a movie about sexual assault, violence.
But my thing that I don't understand is he seems like determined to work on this and finish this and ride the wave and do it properly. And I respect that because it was something that he didn't get into it thinking was going to be the case. He didn't know this was going to be the movie he was making. But the fact that he keeps reiterating that I had to finish it. And then he finished it. And then he had to premiere it. But he doesn't want to post it for the general public. Therefore, why did you do the story then? Was it to voice the victims' voices? Well, no, because you only wanted to voice their voices at a film festival, which in the grand scheme of things only really boosts your career. So that's why it's confusing.
And
That don't sound like you even make YouTube guidelines.
And someone almost losing their life
Yeah.
because of what is clearly negligence
Yeah.
on the part of another person. And in that moment, the decision was, I didn't hesitate. I knew I had to finish this movie and I had to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And I think you uniquely know that David stopped being friends with me or social with me the moment he sort of realized that I wasn't going to back off from this story.
Yeah, same.
Like, but like the last interview I got with him, he didn't want to give me. In fact, it took him 4 months to say yes to that interview.
Ooh.
And the way I framed it to him was like, David, this movie's being made with or without you.
Yeah.
And what I'm here to do is give you the opportunity to speak on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that you and I sat down 5 different times so you could make sure, I wanted to really make sure you were sharing what you wanted to share.
Yeah.
So in any event, like, no, the friendship, fun Casey David thing was over the minute that story came out.
Mm-hmm.
Another little detail that people don't really know, but like,
Sorry to interrupt, but there's rumors going around that, if it's all done, if you feel this way, if he feels that way, does he have some dirt on you? Does he have some naked pictures of you? Or you
he does have
fishnet stockings?
Yeah,
Did he
there's
pay you
a
off?
lot of that. There's a lot of that.
How do you answer
Fishnet
those
stockings.
questions from the
No,
internet?
because it's
Does he have anything on you to not post it? Is there like a
I
contract
think,
that he needs to sign?
I think an important distinction. There's nothing revealed in my movie that isn't public information. There's no question.
Nothing new?
There's nothing new. You've seen it.
Yeah.
I think what's important.
But the importantness of it is hearing the opinions of the people involved, therefore can help us as an audience know how to move forward and navigate our opinions of these people if they're coming back to the platform claiming to be a new person, but you've all this footage of them being very, very, very nasty. Well, let me ask the audience. Let me show the audience.
Important is that I think my movie does a good job of telling the totality of the situation.
Yeah.
From the beginning till the
I
end.
deleted mine because it wasn't true. So I'm working on a piece where it's not on him, it's about me. And it's about my struggles and things I'm still going through. Like, look, this month I had a pretty nasty surgery, still number 12. This is my 12th surgery. And I looked at my Instagram, and from the day I got surgery, we dropped this product, shot a campaign with Tana, the dry shampoo. We hit number 1 on Amazon in 2 hours.
Congratulations,
We
Jeff.
opened a barbershop down the block from my parents' house in my hometown where I grew up, which was my dream since I was a little kid. I shot a movie. I did my first live comedy show. I've done all these things, and I'm just fueled by revenge, So I'm pursuing my dreams because of this, but it's also like, this thing makes it like twice as hard. Everything I want to do is like...
Jeff, you left one thing out of the list of your gigantic successes.
Is that 3:28 marathon?
Well, that should be
was
there
good.
too. No, it's the fact that
That's nothing to you, huh?
my
3:28? That's a workout.
My little baby daughter, who's now 10 and is into fashion and stuff because her friends
Yeah.
at school are. What's it called when a girl has a ponytail that's slicked down at the top? That's really flat.
Slicked ponytail?
Yeah, so that's her new look.
No way, and she uses a pomade?
She only uses your pomade
No way.
because she likes the way it smells. So my little one runs around the house with your pomade.
This is for the older one. Dry shampoo, so she doesn't have to take showers anymore.
I'm not letting that anywhere near my kids.
No, it's
They
great.
will
It's a
leverage that to
it's a
never
great
bathe
product,
again.
and they're all great ingredients that we use. And it's a pink bag. It's quality leather that I want you to take to your daughters.
I will. She'll be thrilled. But we're off subject, and there's
Sorry,
serious.
Logan Paul on this. I'm throwing
You're
Brian
Logan
in the
Paul.
middle of my.
There are serious things here that I think that I do want to address. That's why I'm here. But what I was underscoring before about this idea that like the minute the story came out, I was at this crossroads. It was clear to me, and Candace, my wife, was like brutal with me about this. She was like, make no mistake, if you continue making this, which you have to do, none of them are your friends anymore, and they'll never be your friends again.
I had to make that choice too.
You can't be friends with them. And I said to her, I was like, I think you're right about both things. And I was understanding of that. There was no disillusions about David. One, I saw.
But also, if I was making a documentary about one of my friends and I started figuring out that they were involved in all the stuff that David Dobrik was involved in, I would make the decision myself that I didn't want to be friends with them, not to play the hierarchy game here, or I'm better than anyone else, but like, come on, Casey.
How he treated.
Anybody that disagrees gets exiled.
Sure.
I knew that was going to happen.
I was more saying, I
but
saw
I was
how
prepared to
I saw
do
how he
that.
treated me once he realized that not only was I not going to back off, but like this movie wasn't there to protect him.
Yeah.
This movie was just there to tell the truth. And the thing that I offered him, and I tried to offer him, was that like, the best I can do is let you speak for yourself. And that's what was so hard for me to see, is like when I put a camera on you, Jeff, and I asked you questions, no matter how hard they were, no matter what they were, there was nothing you gave me but the truth and your raw, honest self. And
That's all I know how to do.
And I think that's what made it real and raw and compelling. And the hard part, I'll never forget, like I remember sitting in his room filming that final interview and me just saying over and
You
over and
wanted to
over.
fucking shake him, you dummy.
That was part of it.
You're
It just,
fucking,
yeah, really,
kid's
it blew my
30 years
mind
old
because
now.
I
He's
said
not
to him,
18.
like, take your time. And if I ask you a question you don't know the answer to, just tell me, and I'll sit here for 10 minutes until you're ready to answer it. Because this is the last time.
PR team there to coach
This is
him
the
or
last
something.
time you're gonna get what I did.
Also, that was such a great point that Jeff made. We're dealing with like a 30-something-year-old. We're not dealing with an 18-year-old David Dobrik. Like, this is not a kid. Like, make no mistake of it.
I wanted for him to come back and be like, I don't know what I said. I wasn't thinking about it. I wanted to make sure he had to own what he said.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give him the time, give him the flexibility. And it was what he said in that interview that was really hard. And I remember, my edit team, my producer on this movie was a big time producer, Academy Award nominated, like a major movie producer, she's a woman. And my number one editor, this young lady who's been on the movie from the very beginning, they're both women. And they really helped me guide areas that I don't, that one can't empathize with. Like being a woman who is a victim of sexual assault, certainly.
Yeah.
But then all the women that were also objectified and things like that. All of that is threaded throughout the movie, and that's largely because I had really smart women helping me guide this narrative. But I bring all this up because when you talk about drinking the juice,
Yeah.
I think that I'll take that criticism, and I won't fight with you about it.
I drank the
But-
juice for the first year.
But
I kept the accent.
I push back on it,
hidden.
Jeff, because I didn't hesitate to, throw away my friendship, which I did have with him, and I should have never made that friendship with him because it made me less of a good
Biased,
journalist.
or-
Yeah, less of an objective journalist, for sure. And then I had to tear off the friend Band-Aid and put on the journalist hat, and that was really hard to do. And if I had just been a journalist the whole time, maybe I wouldn't have gotten the access.
Yeah.
But it would have been more honest.
I think the thing that I do have an issue here with, and who's shocked that I have an issue with it, is that he's saying that to make a good movie, he had to throw away his friendship with David, right? But he's not addressing that, like, he wanted to throw away his friendship based on how bad all of the assault allegations and the defending and the hiding and the killing and the fucking almost killing, like, all of these things, like, he's saying at his core here, he had to give up his friendship so he could make a good movie, rather than he had to give up his friendship because he realized that David is insane and the worst person ever.
Honest. Instead, I was his friend. And he was mad with me because he only saw me as a friend. And I was mad with him because of all this bullshit that I felt like was hidden.
Yeah.
And was masked. And when it came out. So you can give me shit for drinking the juice, Jeff. I'm going to take this Kool-Aid home.
And also, I just want to say as well, to be fair, I can understand him doing this documentary, going into it, not knowing a lot, but coming at it from David's friend point of view to make a documentary, following the success and stuff like that, and then this coming up and it being very hard. But you make a decision at that point. Are you going to really commit to this and make this as Happy New Year! How did I do that? How did I do that? I did it back to back. What? What the fuck? Fireworks. Well, anyways, I understand going into this and it being like a totally like being caught off guard thing, but my point is you either commit to making a documentary or you don't. The fact that he committed to making that documentary to the end and then now he doesn't want to post it feeds into the narrative that you just finished it for the sake of being his friend. Which doesn't make sense with you saying you made it because you weren't going to be his friend. So then why are you saying that you're protecting him because you want to protect him from the things he said in the documentary? It seems like you're still acting like a friend to him in the sense that.
But I want you to sort of appreciate the fact that, like,
start dwindling down, you know, maybe do a lower dose each day before you got to get off that stuff.
Still talking about the juice.
Yeah.
I just push back because I would love to understand how you think it's, you know, me drinking the juice because of the fact that I've never had anything to do with the guy. And when I talk about this idea of like,
just
maybe
saying things like what you did in that interview with that guy. I don't know who is that guy because you don't do a lot of podcasts.
No,
so.
He's fantastic. His channel's fantastic. He used to work at YouTube.
He got good questions out of you.
Yeah, really good
Got
questions.
you some backlash.
But was there other than
your
what we
answers?
talked about?
No, from just like saying things about you know, that he was the best comedian.
Oh, just about David stuff.
Yeah, just like that
Yeah,
stuff.
so like, you know,
and you not releasing the doc for the sole purpose that you feel the need to protect.
Yeah, I never
David.
said that, Jeff. That's a total mischaracterization. And I still don't know why I don't put it out there. I think it's because maybe some part of me, as much as I'm ashamed to admit it, is because I still like very deeply love and care for David. And maybe it's about protecting him from himself.
You said that in the.
That's part of it. And it.
I love when someone gets clocked with the video of something they've said. That was brilliant. Shout out to Jeff for that one. Oh,
Nuance,
wonderful.
Like,
Das
the
ist
hard part of the internet
wonderful.
is being honest and being nuanced.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to hear it. They want to
You
take
felt-
absolutes
you felt
like
the
that.
need
And that's not
to.
an absolute. That's
Yeah.
not an absolute. The reason why the movie people
Maybe you
haven't
said you
seen-
sort of maybe you feel the need. Maybe you.
No,
maybe you don't
I'll
know.
say it to you now as
Not him gaslighting the fuck out of Jeff right now. J'adore gaslighting.
I said it to him, almost verbatim. But the reason why the movie's not out right now is we didn't get fucking distribution. And we didn't get distribution for 100 reasons. Most of them
Posted on fucking YouTube. It's a documentary about YouTube community and a YouTuber where all of the people that are giving you backlash for not posting it are on YouTube. This is about money, KC. This is not about you caring about the story. If it wasn't about you caring about money, that damn shit would be on your YouTube channel. In the sense that if you kick every...
bullshit and it sucks, but we didn't get distribution. And to underscore the effort with which I put into distribution, like we premiered at the biggest film festival in North America. Like it played 6 times at that film festival.
Yeah.
It was reviewed by every industry magazine, every industry website out there. I think we had 25 reviews, most of them positive, most of them negative on David. But we did everything we could to get that movie out there. I hired a public relations company to get us lots of press and a sales company
Yeah.
to sell the movie. And another important distinction here is that like
It's about money.
I had myriad opportunity to take on funding for this movie. I never did. Every aspect of this movie was paid out of my pocket.
Yeah, I know.
And that was something I did to protect the integrity of the film because I never wanted to answer to anyone.
course.
So why isn't
Also, make no mistake of it. If he was to post this damn shit on YouTube, he would make money out of that as well.
the movie out there today? It's because we didn't get fucking distribution. And that's frustrating for me. But it still
Yeah.
leaves this big fat question of why isn't it on
You
the
feel like
internet?
it's like a failure?
Yeah, I mean, like
happened?
there's a part of me that thinks that.
Do you feel like
sure.
I had a part in that because I put out mine and kind of told the story?
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
I told my
But-
story, I
But
didn't really
you
tell the
doing
girl,
that was
or-
definitely contributed to my motivation of not having this be on YouTube. And I still stand by that. That's why it's not on YouTube today. Is I think
Fuck
that,
me, they age restricted it all. I couldn't even show my own face.
Well, that would be a part of it, but it's less practical for me and more just like, I think when people consume on YouTube, it's done with a certain purview that would have negatively impacted how people view this movie. They would have seen it as gossip. They would have seen it as another sort of.
Disagree. He's just talking in circles here. He's not posting it. Oh, my nose got so itchy for some reason. Make no mistake of it. He is not posting it on YouTube because of money. He wants a lot of money for the distribution of that. And I just wish that he would, like, properly acknowledge that rather than being like, oh, I can't post it on YouTube. Why is my nose so fucking itchy right now? I'm, like, fucking twitching. Oh, my God. Wait. Oh, it's because I need to sneeze. We're good.
YouTubey, gossipy thing instead of what it was, which I think, and maybe this is giving myself too much credit, but I think that movie captures a really important moment in YouTube history, which is
I think you're giving yourself too much credit. If I'm being honest. And you know why? Because I have nothing to base it off of.
When these runaway creators would take their desire for sensationalism to an inevitable and wildly dangerous end. In David's case, almost killing someone.
Yeah.
And then a young woman being assaulted.
Yeah.
And I still believe this, that the vehicle with which people see that through should feel more formal than my YouTube channel.
Well, you're an amazing filmmaker, and you're a really smart guy. And
Jeff, you didn't let me finish. Because you brought up what I said about protecting David.
Go ahead.
I want to answer your question.
Yeah.
And I preface all of this by saying it's nuance, and that's why people don't like nuance on the internet, because they want to say bad or good. They
Yeah.
don't want to understand the complexity. So I didn't get distribution, which fucking sucks. And here we are 3 years later, and the movie's not out. And why isn't the movie out, Casey? I didn't get distribution. Totally honest answer. Why haven't you put it out in the 3 years since? That's where it gets more complicated.
Yeah.
And this is where I start to look at myself and think like, okay, like, you know, ABC News, CNN, Fox News, they didn't buy this. Hulu didn't buy this. Netflix didn't buy this. But that's not the end. You and I both know that's not the end. There are other ways to get this out there. Why didn't I put that extra effort in? And this is where, like, if I'm honest with myself, it's like, there's definitely a part of it, which is like, that was such a fucking painful, shitty experience making that. That is not making the movie that I wanted to make. And when I say painful, I should have picked a different word, because my face, believe it or not, this is what my face normally looks like. I haven't had a single surgery on it. This is just what I wake up to. I didn't get one construction equipment.
well,
to take
you
out my fucking
kind
orbital.
of gave me that trick with the glasses. Like, if you don't feel confident, just throw glasses on. You know, just kind of.
I
Now
love
everybody knows why I
doing
have
that.
glasses on 24 hours a day,
Well,
7 days a week.
you know, that's what helped me get out of the house and get my life back home. Real quick, this episode is sponsored by.
Shout out to Jeff being sponsored, but baby, we are not sponsored.
that.
Do you feel guilt towards your girl? Because
And I not just the girl. I feel guilt towards the victim, and she's a real victim.
Yeah.
I feel guilt towards you because
I don't give a fuck.
and
I tell my own
became-
story. People that talk about it, they tell me I
Sure,
can shut up about it.
Sure,
already.
Jeff, but you were incredibly generous with me when I was making that movie, with both your time, your insight, and how vulnerable you were willing to be with me on.
I think that's something that's frustrating as well. Obviously, when it comes to filmmaking and documentary making, you can provide a lot of time to something that doesn't work out. The movie can be dropped, the movie cannot be picked up, the movie cannot be whatever. But I think what's frustrating about this thing with Casey Neistat is Casey Neistat was a YouTuber. Therefore, it wasn't like you were working with a major studio. Therefore, you were more likely to give a lot more time to a fellow YouTuber. So,
on camera, and you gave me all of that with the understanding that I would then share, and I've done that for you, and there's a sense of guilt there.
Well, I'm barely in it, and my part of it is so small, and I saw what I needed to see to understand, you know, that, like, what was I thinking? Like, this is who this kid really is. I should have fucking known. Like, he's with everybody. If you say no to the boss, you're banished. You know, look at Trisha, look at Big Nick, look at Seth, look at anybody that said no to him. They got banished. Do you think I wanted to take that leap and say I'm going to be a solo creator when before I was a weed dealer? I didn't know shit. I didn't know if I had the confidence to try to make it on my own or go back to selling weed. You can't. I already talked about it online. You know, but like Jason, like doesn't know what to do without him. So I don't blame
Send
these
those
people
gifts,
for
y'all.
not
Send
having the
those
confidence
gifts.
to take the leap and try
One
to do things
more
on their own.
rose.
You know, they don't know any better. It's the Antonians that were given cars and shit. You know, like they.
Well, so this goes back even for like the Jason part of the story probably affects me more
It's the
than
saddest part of
David.
it. He's
Well, sure, but regardless of what the world knows of Jason,
yeah.
keep those gifts coming, y'all. Keep those gifts coming. Who am I battling today?
Jason is someone I got to know, I think, very well. And I think one thing about Jason that makes him
By
such
watching
a
those
special
TikTok
person
lives.
is he only tells the truth. Like, what you get from that guy is
Yeah.
his honest truth. And
Yeah.
that on camera, like, you know, Jason telling me the story. This is when David was at his peak, so Jason was at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason telling me the story of what it was like after he first separated from his wife and not knowing how he was going to make a living and almost giving up on his comedy career. Then the next scene is us having a tour of his new beautiful home.
Yeah.
And how he found all this success because of what he did with David.
Yeah.
And then also within that, Jason not holding back at how challenging is the relationship that he has with David. Like, you
Yeah.
asked me, did I know that people weren't getting paid? The reason why so much of the story zeroes in on Jason is because I wanted to understand his motives.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to dig. He was very open with them.
Yeah.
As well as he was open with how hard it is working for David.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things about the doc that really early on sort of shook me was
One of the things that's always really crazy to me that I don't see people talking about enough is, you know, the way Jason is on TikTok? Yeah, we know that. The main reason he's doing that is because David refused to do a podcast with him where they were going to get this huge sum of money together, which meant Jason would have never had to do that, if I'm remembering correctly.
the first question that I asked all of the collaborators, Keith, saying, everybody I talked to was, is David your coworker or is he your friend?
Yeah.
And I thought about that question because I thought they were going to attack me. Like, how fucking dare you? He's my friend.
Yeah.
And not one person said that. They all stopped
Who's
and
your
thought.
friend?
Like, well, we are friends, but we were, and I was like, holy shit, like, there's the story. I want
Yeah.
to understand how this works. But in any event, we're pulling off subject because we're pulling off topic. I just want to drill in on this idea, and I don't fault you for this, Jeff, because if I was sitting in your shoes right now, I would feel the same way. But this idea that the sole reason why this documentary isn't out there in the world is because I'm sitting with my arms folded thinking I need to protect this guy who threw away his career, who threw away all of these things that he had earned, and he threw it away by seeing other people be victimized, and instead of standing up for them, he saw himself as the victim.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that word protected, and I should be more careful with that word,
Yeah.
and this is why I don't fault you for interpreting it the way you interpret, is because like I'm being fucking honest, and there is a part of me that feels
It's
a little
out
bit
there.
of guilt.
There's nothing new in the story.
Well, there's
Unfortunately,
nothing new.
But as what I was trying to get at before, now that you said that, that you
Well, Casey, if there's nothing new in the documentary, then why can't it go on YouTube? But you're saying it needs to go on such a formal Netflix, Hulu. If there's nothing new in it, why can't you just post it on YouTube? If there's nothing new in it.
are such a genius filmmaker and the way you do things, I don't see a reason why you can't pivot and take that story and make it not just about David, make it about the Jack Dohertys who crashed their car and filmed their friend's skull leaking blood. And it's not done yet. My story's not done. I had surgery 3 weeks ago. You know, this is 4 years later, but it's still very ongoing.
Do you remember how the doc ends, right? Last time you saw it?
He kind of just said that he didn't really give a shit about us.
Literally how the doc ends is this is when he started up the vlog again after all this bad stuff.
Yeah.
You're in it. And it's the two of you boxing in a boxing scene where you're sort of jovially laughing at one another, and you sort of punch him and your buddies, and he makes a joke about hitting you with the excavator.
Yeah, better with construction equipment.
Yeah. So a big part of the reason, and this is more practical. This is
I would love to tie up this story and
podcast.
have it be over too, but it's just that's how life is. You know.
Well, so therein lies the rub, because after you fucking blew me up online, which I'll take it, Jeff.
It's a good title.
No,
Fuck Casey Neistat.
it's a great title. I wish I'd thought of it myself. I sort of had to sit back and I was like, really think about it and be like, and I think I called you one night or sent you a voice note and I was like, why don't we just make a podcast where we appeal for distribution?
Yeah.
Because I still firmly believe that YouTube's not the place for this movie.
Yeah.
But
and
then
they didn't want my movie because it made pushing it for YouTube look dangerous and make it dangerous for creators.
This movie's critical of YouTube.
But that's what the truth is. Being a YouTuber, your brain chemistry, to become happy, you want something positive, some form of
What was the name of
success.
the podcast?
What?
His podcast?
Whose?
David's?
Views. So views make you happy.
It is
Views
this
are
drug.
controlled by
It is
this
thing.
algorithm.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the views, if you put all this work into a video and you don't get the views, now you're depressed. And then you got to push it to do more and get more views. Otherwise, it's a lot for your brain to handle, especially at a younger age. It sort of stunted me from when I started. YouTube
First time you've
stunted
ever
David.
faced success.
Yeah.
This is
you
what
don't
you're
want to
feeling.
lose it.
Your income is tied to that view count. It's all real.
Yeah.
And it's critical of that. So
you can make a great piece that you worked on for weeks and it could
Nobody
do
watches it,
nothing. And you could make a video that took you 10 minutes to film and it could get 8 million views on TikTok.
Okay, so again, to kind of be nuanced here, I can understand this take of them not wanting to post something that's critical of YouTube on YouTube to kind of, push YouTube and piss them off. But while I still disagree with that, and there are so many pieces on YouTube that are more intense than this, considering he has told us nothing is new information, therefore the worst has already been said, there are other ways of doing this when it's not just prioritizing money. If you truly care about the story, I mean, years later, the doc is now just sitting, you're not making any money off of it anyway. Wouldn't you rather the hard work be witnessed by people? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. There's one last part I want to get to, and it's right here.
I want to.
Vlog squad, and it will be uncomfortable. If I saw David, it would be uncomfortable. I would do my best to say hello. But if I ever saw Dom in real life, I'd have a really tough time not beating the shit out of him.
My whole thing with, putting an end to this thing.
Jeff, you're never going to put an end to this thing.
I'm never going to put an end to this
I don't know
thing.
how you could. I want to
I
hope
because I
he
want to
never
move on with
does.
my life. I live it because I see in headlines this just the way they talk about me, just man hurt and stunt and freak accident. And even just hearing freak accident pisses me off. David, you got the quotes in your documentary. It's not funny unless somebody gets hurt.
Visuals and funny stuff, and this is not funny unless someone gets hurt.
Do these stunts ever concern you, Natalie?
Yeah, all the time. That's my job. That's why I'm here. I'm here to be like safety Sally.
That's what he says in your
God.
doc.
Moreover, Jeff, I saw the raw footage from that day.
Yeah.
It was some of the most upsetting shit I've ever seen.
So maybe that's why I still go on with why I push so hard, why I still do pod.
And also, Jeff doesn't need to say why he wants to still go hard on this, because he's now seeing David Dobrik back on social media and being loved again, and people move on from what happened to him because of the time distance. These people rely on time, from when something happened for the audience to move on, but that doesn't mean that they should move on or they should stop talking about it. And also, if it didn't happen to you, shut the fuck up.
Podcast, why I still do, main channel documentaries and everything that I try to do, open barbershops, products, whatever. Like, I'm still trying to do so much because I just don't want to be that guy in that video that got hit by the crane by this dumbass David Dobrik. Imagine like Jack Doherty did that to me or some shit, because that's the new David Dobrik, That motherfucker knows what he did. I had to sit there, get CAT scan. They had to cut off my clothes and take my jewelry, my St. Christopher medallion that's supposed to protect you in your travels through your pursuit of your dreams, whatever. This thing I gave to him to hold for me. He lost it. So it showed how much he cared.
The reason why I say
how
to
do
you,
I forgive this guy? How do I move on with my life?
The reason why I say to you, if I was in your shoes, I would never be able to move on, is not because of the injury.
What do I tell Andrew Schultz when he's like, hey, be quiet? And then I say, all right, send me an address, let's fight. And then he's like...
Why did Schultz tell you to be quiet?
He was like, all that guy does is complain about his fucking eye.
This is why, if I was in your shoes, I would never stop complaining. And it's not because of what happened.
So Andrew Schultz is a fucking dummy.
I love Andrew Schultz.
That's another one, Casey. Now we're going to have to do a whole nother show.
I love Andrew. Did you title this one, Fuck Casey and Fuck Andrew?
Yeah.
We should workshop the title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll give you a bunch of faces for the thumbnail.
No, I'll take care of it.
I'll do it. That's what AI is for. The reason why, when I try to empathize with you, when I think, what would I do if I was in Jeff's shoes?
When I try to empathize with you is crazy.
I think that it's not the injury that I couldn't get past.
It's the motherfucker who did it.
Not even that. It's the way things transpired after. And that's what, like, when I really think about it, when it was happening at the time, this is what I'd like lay in bed talking to my wife about. It's just like, what happened to you was fucking horrific. And we can litigate for days why it happened. I think it happened.
And then there's a legal battle because of it. Yeah, you can say it's been 4 years since. There's a legal battle. And still that person who did this to you is saying that you got clout off of it. So things aren't that bad. And you're dealing with surgeries every fucking week.
Because of gross negligence, stupidity, and just like a borderline, a borderline focus on something like above the line happening. Like, until that, like, it's not a joke till somebody gets hurt. I think David said that in jest, but behind that is a real truth. But until like we cross that line,
and then Natalie goes,
yeah,
I'm Stacey Sally.
How do we cross that line? And
yeah.
This time when the line was crossed, it ended up with you almost losing your life.
Yeah.
Even that I could get past, but what transpired afterwards
even that I
is why
can
I
get
can
past?
do nothing but validate the fact that you haven't shut the fuck up about this for 4 years.
Well, thank you.
Is because, and I mean, I said this to you then, Jeff.
Yeah.
Is because it's like, it's one thing to be dealing with what you're dealing with.
I had my grand opening in my barbershop yesterday. My childhood dream, I had to cut hair with one eye at it. I was like this trying to give haircuts,
Can you not see out of the?
Right now, no.
But
I
it'll
can't, because when the swelling goes down and it takes, like, the tissue all takes place and settles wherever it's going to be.
But you didn't lose sight in that eye.
Right now, I have, like, blur out of it, so I just keep it shut. But I don't want to surrender to an eye patch.
But eventually you'll be able to.
We'll see. It's up in the air, Just see how things heal.
So yeah, so that's how I mean, that's how I look at it when I try to think about what I would be like in your shoes. Is like, I don't know that I could get past that. That is such an unbelievable thing. I don't know how you're supposed to get over it. Yeah. How does this not become a big defining part of who you are? And we're seeing here 4 years later, and you just got out of a fucking life-threatening surgery. And Jeff, I've said all of these things to you off the record.
I just got to beat your marathon time, and then it's all in the past.
The thing is, you're skinny and I'm big.
Yeah, but
with enough focus,
Okay, we will leave it there. This is so... I can't believe how many times we have to have the conversation that a person doesn't have to stop talking about something just because the audience are tired of hearing of it. Okay, it's not your story. Jeff having to justify why he continues talking about this is crazy when you see him still recovering from surgery after surgery after surgery. Every single thing he does in life is affected by this one David Dobrik thing. David Dobrik comes back to social media, is doing the same stunty, weird shit that he was doing before, never learns, is always rewarded for it, and people move on because, oh, it's been so long since that, so he must be different. But let's look at the pieces that are still needing to be picked up. My take on Casey with this, I can understand where he's coming from, but he is very hypocritical, in my opinion. You can't say that you're not defending David, but then you're saying that you don't want to post it because you don't want people to see what he said. And then keep reiterating, it's not anything you all haven't seen before. Okay, then post it. Great, post it then. All right, muckers, I will love and leave you. I hope you're all having a great night. Thank you so much to everyone that was sending me this to react to. Shout out to Jeff Wittek. I loved when he clocked in with that clip of Casey being like, I never said that, and then the clip of Casey saying it. Hope you're all doing well, and goodbye.